What's up, everybody? Today I'm working on a piece I found on the side of the road. I was walking down to the Goodwill and I saw it across the street, and I thought if it was still there on my way back, then I'd pick it up, and it was. So it's in a little bit of rough shape. I can't exactly tell what the age of the piece is. It's definitely mid-century modern esque looking, but it's extremely light. Which I don't really know what that indicates. I guess my assumption is with old furniture it's heavy, but it could be older. It definitely has the kind of detail work. There was this kind of gray, splotchy wiping kind of thing all over the piece. I wasn't sure if that was dirt or just the way that the paint that was on it would wear down. Sometimes paint could discolor. And here's the inside of this cute little drawer, or I should say cabinet. It's not a drawer. But I think it's a cute little fun piece, so we're going to give it a refinish today. First order of business is taking off the hinges. This top hinge looked like it was sprayed with spray paint, possibly. The bottom looked like it just had the house paint that the whole piece was painted with. But either way, we're going to be taking the paint off of that eventually, so we're going to take it off. And they popped off pretty cleanly, pretty nicely. And I'm going to set those to the side. Next, I'm going to take the knob off. And unfortunately, these little spikes are supposed to stab into the wood and keep it from turning in place, but it's left quite a nasty ring gouge. So we're just going to fill it in with some wood filler. I know I have my putty knife right there. It just doesn't fit into my wood filler container. And then it seemed easier to just apply with the popsicle stick. I'm going to use a somewhat damp cloth to wipe off any super excess. This just means less sanding later. And I got 180 in my hand sander tool. I'm going to use that for the bigger, broader areas. And I also have 150 in a small little chunk, and I'm going to use that for the little small crevices and detail work. So I'm going to start my work on the front bottom, get that all sanded down, and I see that there's a lot of excess paint drip on the bottom, so I'm going to use an X-Acto to get most of that off. You just got to be careful that you're not taking any wood with it. But if you can get the right angle and the right pressure, it could save you a bit of time. It's also pretty satisfying as well. All right, now we got that all cleaned off. Just a light sand to follow up. And moving along. I've got the sandpaper folded in kind of a V shape to try and get down into the channels of these details. I'm also keeping an eye out for any, since I'm not sanding it back down to the bare wood, if there's any divots in the paint, I'm just going to use the wood filler to fill that in. Make sure to let it dry before sanding off any excess. Same with all these crevices here. And here's my buddy Mercury hanging out with me. He's always interested in whatever projects I got going on. Having this piece up on the table, I noticed this big gap in the bottom, which you'll probably never see when it's on the floor, but I would know it's there. So I'm going to just fill it in with some more wood filler, smooth it out as much as possible. And now that the wood filler's cured on the door, I'm going to clean that up as well. We had similar drippage, excess paint that needed to be taken off on the corners and the sides. And also a lot of built up paint in the little notch that makes the door click into place. So I'm just going to use the utility blade and some steel wool to clean that out. And I'll give it a little wipe down just to get any extra sawdust or powder from sanding. I do have a water-based wood filler, so I'm being a little careful here, but I'm just kind of smoothing that out. And here it is all ready and prepped for painting. Still looking pretty rough, but she feels smooth to the touch, so. I initially wanted to do milk paint. You could see the bag in the corner there, but there wasn't going to be enough for coverage, so I saw this Bear brand spray paint in the store, and it was the color that I wanted to go for. I've not used Bear spray paint before, that brand, but we're going to go for it because I dug the color. Here we are in the alley, and you want to get all the little finite details first and focus on getting that sprayed in, and then work on the bigger coverage areas after, since they'll get overspray onto those areas anyway. So I would do 2 coats of the green and follow it up with 3 coats of a matte finish clear coat. And here it is finished up. Actually, I think this was just after the green coats, not the clear coat. I did notice some kind of funny crackling effect that happened in a few spots. This could have had to do with my prep, or it could have been the paint, I'm not sure, but in some ways it kind of, I guess, adds to the character. And while I let that dry, we're going to move on to our second flip, which is this is a giant 2-foot by 4-foot whiteboard that's mounted to wood. My husband found it in the garbage pile at his work and was kind enough to salvage it for me. So it's almost 16 pounds, which is a little bit heavy for mounting on the wall. Of course, there's things you could do with that, but I thought it would make a really cool coffee table. So that's what we're going to do with it today. I plugged a few of these holes. Screws were sticking out of it when I got it, so I just plugged them with wood glue and a dowel. And here's the legs that I bought to turn it into a coffee table. They're 16-inch black metal hairpin legs. And the hairpin legs came with these screws, which just seemed a little too close for comfort. So I did go to the hardware store and I picked up some shorter mounting screws just to be safe. There's no hard, fast rule on where to place these legs. You could put them right to the edge or have them inset. I'm going to have them inset a little bit. So I'm putting some painter's tape down. This is so I can mark the holes, and it'll also protect the surface from blowout when drilling. And I'm just going to use this tool to help evenly line it up from both sides, both edges. And once I have it all lined up, I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie. Make sure to put ample pressure on the piece so it doesn't move on you. And next I'm going to find a drill bit that is slightly smaller than the diameter of the screw. And we're going to pilot the holes. And I'm going to also use the tape to put a flag so that I know how deep to drill the pilot hole. I'm actually not going to go as deep as the flag. I'm just using it as a reference point of how far I'm able to go. Now that I have those all piloted, we're going to peel the tape. Nice clean edges on those drilled holes. And we're just going to mount that, screw it down. On there, good. I'm just going to repeat that for the next 3 legs. And we got ourselves a coffee table. I really like the look of the legs. I think that black binding that was on the whiteboard originally just kind of goes with it. And it looks good, even not as a whiteboard table. And it also came with these plastic feet that you can snap the bottom of the legs into if you want to protect your floor. And now for the fun part, the whiteboard markers. I promise these are whiteboard and not permanent markers. I'm really into miniature stuff and anything I can get small or mini, I usually get it. But this was really satisfying. I figured you could play games, jot down notes, leave messages, doodle. And it was just a lot of fun that this classy looking coffee table also had like a fun functionality to it. This piece didn't actually take me very long, but it was so satisfying to finish. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this quick flip here. And we're going to move back to our now fully cured nightstand. I'm going to use acetone, which is fingernail polish essentially, to help get the paint off of the hinges and the top of the screws. I was wearing nitrile gloves, although I don't know why in my head it made sense that the acetone wasn't going to eat through it. I need to get chemical gloves. But, I mean, people put this on their hands all the time for taking nail polish off, but I'm just going to use the end of this old used toothbrush and just try and scrape off. It didn't take very much at all because the acetone ate away at the paint relatively quickly. And once I got that all scraped off, we got this nice kind of brass look. Definitely has some age to it, but I like it. I'm not going to be painting them. I've pulled out my shoebox full of random drawer pulls and knobs that I've accumulated over the years. And of course, it's not until the very bottom I find the one that I would like. But it has that brass look, and I think it kind of fits the era. You can see I got some more of the crackling on the front face, not on purpose, but at least it's consistent. Now I'm going to put the hinges back on. Make sure they're lined up exactly as they were, so that way I don't have alignment issues when I reattach it to the cabinet. Get the drawer pull on there. Tighten it up. I like the look of the brass. I think it makes it look a little older. And here we're going to attach it back onto the nightstand. And the best way to do this here is to get your screws in, but not all the way tight, and then make sure that it closes properly, and then tighten all your screws down. And she closes smoothly. Let's take a quick look back to where we started and at the final piece. This Kensington green color has quickly become a new favorite. And I think the brass hardware with the color is just stunning, and it's got that vintage vibe that I was going for. I had initially planned to sell this, but if I'm being honest, I think I might be keeping it. This has just been such a fun little flip project. And I hope you all like the results as much as I do. And thank you so much for watching.